It's a look at this week's comics. I was going to do two videos today, it's like a special one, but hay fever, it's really bad today because it's really polleny. So yeah, just bear with me. So this is my batch for this week, and I picked up a few back issues because I decided to carry on with a series, and I've stopped one series. One series that I've stopped is Ultimate Black Panther. I think I was getting that just because of a bad case of FOMO. I was thinking, oh, I can't miss out on this because Ultimate Spider-Man sold out. But the second issue, I thought it's well written, but it's slow, and it's not going anywhere. So I decided to carry on with a series that I put on hold while I was trying out Ultimate Black Panther. So I'll reveal what that is in a minute. I was meant to be getting Superman 13, but my comic shop, which is a Forbidden Planet International one, so it's quite a big chain, it keeps getting shorted by Diamond UK. So they said hopefully that should be in next week, so I must do a review of that next week. But the rest of my comics on my list came through, of my pull list. So we'll start with, for a change, a Marvel comic. So now that I've stopped Black Panther, at present I just get Ultimate Spider-Man and... Hold on. Give myself a boost. And Ultimate X-Men by Peach Momoko. But there is one other comic I'm getting because it's got such a fun feeling. As I've said before, I really hate Amazing Spider-Man at the moment, so I think they're doing a terrible job with it for a top-tier Marvel character. But I do love Spectacular Spider-Man. This is such a fun read. It ties into nothing else. It's by Greg Weisman, who created Gargoyles, the Disney cartoon. And the artwork is by Humberto Ramos, who is one of my favourite... Oh, sorry, I told you hay fever. He's one of my favourite Spider-Man artists. Well, just one of my favourite artists. He's got a really nice cartoony style. I loved him when he was on Impulse, etc. And I just love that layout. So, yeah, it's basically just a buddy comic about Peter Parker and Miles. And as I said in the first issue when I reviewed that one, Miles comes across more as a responsible adult than Peter does. Peter's just desperate to be cool, and it comes across as an embarrassing 20-something, early 30-something, trying to fit in with the young people. But yeah, the pacing is really good. There's quite a few threads that in the first issue go, hey, what are all these about? Which are slowly coming together now. And there's some familiar faces from old Spider-Man comics in. Vermin from the old Kraven's Last Stand. And so it's quite a clone-centric story, but not clone-centric with these two, but clone-centric with other people. So it embraces the lore of the Jackal as well. And yeah, it's a fun read. This is what I want from a Spider-Man comic. It's not deep at all. It's not really essential, but it's a fun read. Really gorgeous artwork. I'll give this 8.5 out of 10, and I'll be carrying on with this. I have also made room on Marvel pull list for the new X-Men titles when they come in, but I've got a bit of trepidation. I've got a horrible feeling they're going to be $4.99, and they shouldn't need to be. I don't like how Marvel priced the comics. They've gone against what they were going to do, and I'm just going to pause this because I'm going to sneeze. Yeah, so as I was saying, they've gone against what said they were going to do. A few months back, I think Bleeding Cool reported a report from Marvel who said that they were aware that they're overpricing the comics and they're going to make it much more customer and shop friendly. It's not the case. They're still bringing out expensive comics. For example, in July they're releasing Avengers vs. Aliens, 48 pages, which would be 30 story pages most likely, $7.99 just because Jonathan Hickman's name's attached to it. And I think it's just scandalous. I'm not going to buy it. There's no point. I've not that much of interest in Aliens to pay that much for a comic. It should at least be a prestige format for that price, and it's not. It's a comic. Ridiculous. But that's by the by. As I said, really enjoying Spectacular Spider-Man. 8.5 out of 10. So let's move on to... Yeah, we'll move on to our indies. Just one indie this week. Oh, sorry, there's another Marvel comic, so we'll do that. This Marvel comic has been one of my favourite Marvel comics in years. It's got a perfect blend of art and story. It's actually good value for money. It's $4.99, but it's about 28 to 30 story pages each issue. And I think this could be one of those rare cases of Marvel actually having an evergreen story. And it's Avengers Twilight by Chip Zdarsky and Daniel Acuna. We're on book 5. As I mentioned before, it's like almost like the not Dark Knight, but that kind of thing where it's slightly set in the future. What of these where they're now grizzled, they've been outlawed, and suddenly they have to come back in action. So yeah, there is quite it's kind of Dark Knighty because that's what happened with Dark Knight Returns. But the artwork by Daniel Lacuna as well is amazing. So the Red Skull reveals his true colours, but people have been so filled with disinformation for the past 20 years that they don't see anything wrong with him. Um, and it's quite a political comic, but done in a very gripping way, a political thriller almost, with superhero trappings on it. The artwork by Daniel Acuna is just sterling. Like I said, it looks so nice when it's collected in a book format, but I'm happy just keeping the comics because I'll read it again in this format. And it's some of the best writing by Chip Zdarsky in quite a while, because I think his Batman writing is quite mediocre, really, compared to what Ram V's doing on his Batman comic. Um, and it's the most fun I've had in a Marvel comic in years. And I wish this was an ongoing, to be honest, or at least a series of minis. Maybe it will be, who knows. But yeah, just one more issue to go. This one very, very fight-centric, but it doesn't feel like it. And that's a sign of a good comic if it doesn't feel like it's just a slugfest all the time. There's intelligence behind their actions, and the art, like I said, is just sterling. So yeah, 9 out of 10. Near perfect comic. So on to our indies. Just one indie this week, and it's from Dark Horse. And this could be the issue of the week, but I don't want to give this the issue of the week because a lot of other people will be doing. And one reason I won't, I'll come to in a minute, and it's something that other people are kind of excusing, but I can't, which is unusual for me because I normally defend this writer quite often. But it's Helen of Windhorn by Tom King and Bilquis Evely on the artwork, who did Supergirl with him. That cover is just that, quite possibly. Yeah, I'd say most certainly this is the cover of the week. Beautiful, beautiful cover. The artwork inside is just absolutely picture book beautiful. It fits it perfectly. Now, I'm surprised that some people haven't spoken out on this, but I'm going to. Like I said, I defend Tom King's wordiness. I know he's trying to create a feel of the period and like a pulpy kind of thing, almost like what Dan Jurgens is doing with the Batman comic, Black Label Prestige, what he's doing, where he's got that very clipped kind of pulp noir way of speaking. But there's paragraphs in here while describing what the person's saying and what the person's also doing at the same time, and I just think that's overkill, and it pulled me out of the story a little bit. So for that, I'm going to deduct a point. Naughty Tom King, naughty. Less is more. But apart from that, it's a very enjoyable magic realism kind of story. And the worlds are now merged together. So this fantasy, in brackets, land, what her granddad disappeared for years and years, is kind of like seeping into America now. And so this finishes on the next stage of the journey, which I don't want to give anything of the story away, because this issue is more of character building about her granddad and her relationship with her granddad, and how it's strained and how it's slowly coming together again, and how she's slowly getting introduced to what her granddad's experienced for these past how many years he's been away. Yeah, beautiful, perfect artwork, beautiful colouring, but Tom, you don't always need to have descriptive boxes when you've got the image showing what's happening and when you've got somebody talking as well. Just calm it down a bit. Or unless you're getting paid by the letter, then I understand how you're doing it. So I give this, for the story, 8 out of 10. For the artwork, 9, even 10 out of 10. Just beautiful. And that's definitely the cover of the week. But I think my comic of the week, I don't want to give it 10 out of 10 because I think this is going to carry on getting stronger and stronger, but I'm going to give it 9.5 out of 10. It's a runner-up for cover of the week as well, and it's Hellblazer, Dead in America, John Constantine. This is issue 4 by Simon Spurrier and Aaron Campbell. The artwork in this, again, is just beautiful. Totally polar opposites to Helen of Windhorn. It's much more murky and kind of like gritty realism, but stunning all the same, with beautiful, beautiful colouring by Jordi Belair, which changes on page to page to match the mood of the piece of the what's happening in the page. It's kinetic when it needs to be. It's still when it needs to be. Aaron Campbell can display conversations in an interesting way and action in a brilliant way as well. And the writing by Si Spurrier is superb. I didn't read his other run on Hellblazer. I still need to get the trade paperbacks. But even so, I'm enjoying the comic, and I will get it. But he's got the voice of John Constantine perfectly. He's a cheeky scouse, and that's what comes across. He's a bastard. He's a scouse. He's working class, and he gets it. A lot of writers kind of forgot about that, especially when Americans try to write John Constantine. They don't really get his voice, because they've never experienced it. They just use what they've read in the comics previously. But when you're from England and you know what Liverpool's like, and you know what Scallies are like, and people like that, you can nail it much better, and he has done. It's brilliant, and the good news is this was initially meant to be an 8-issue one, and it moved to a 9-issue, and now it's 11 issues, so hopefully, please, let it be an ongoing. Please, DC, for me. Please let it be an ongoing, because I love this. And DC, if you make this an ongoing one, I will love you so much, I promise. So yeah, 9.5 out of 10. I highly recommend hunting this down. It's $4.99, but it's cardstock cover, and you get about 28 story pages, so very good value for money. I can't complain about that price. Really, really good. That's issue of the week. And then one that was really scoring highly, but it's been a gap of about 2 months between issues, and it's Batman Off-World number 4. So I was a bit foggy on what's gone on before. The artwork still is beautiful by Doug Mankey. That splash page is dynamic. But I think because of the gap in between, I've lost the excitement for it. It's still fun. It's a great space opera. But it made me wish that Jason Aaron was writing a Lobo comic instead, or maybe a new version of the Omega Men. Something spacey, which didn't need to have Batman in. But it's still enjoyable. But why I enjoyed it more was this Rogue Thanagarian who's come in. Again, I'd love to see him do Hawkman or something more spacey without having to have somebody from Earth involved. So I'd give this a 7 out of 10. I think it's just a slight dip, but I'm still enjoying it. And one where the artwork is gorgeous and possibly has the best opening page of any comic of this week. I just love that very widescreen blockbuster movie opening shot there with all the explosions. So this is the storyline that paved the way for it in the annual, which I've not got yet, and issue 25 of the Imp dimension bleeding into our world. So it's Mr. Mxyzptlk and Bat-Mites. We find out there's other mites as well who links up to other superheroes, but there's also villainous ones as well who are causing all this chaos with the villains on Earth, and there's somebody behind it all. The artwork by Dan Mora and Tamara Bonvillain is just absolutely gorgeous as expected, because I think at one point it did dip for a bit, but it's back on form again. But I do find the story a bit fluffy. It's still enjoyable, but I want more. I think after the Kingdom storyline, I thought we'd got rid of the fluff and getting onto the meat, but this just feels a bit candy flossy. So story I give 7, art I give 9 out of 10. And yeah, it's still a fun comic. And then this is one that I stopped while I was trying out Ultimate Black Panther, but I was able to get the other issues, so I'm back on track with it. So I've got Titans number 8, Titans number 9, and the current issue, Titans number 10. I love that cover with Trigon. So there's a new ongoing artist now, who is Lucas Mayer. Really nice artist. The only gripe I've got with the art, some panels are really good, but then others, it's that modern thing of where they rely on the colourist to do the background and just skimp on doing backgrounds. I'm old school. My Titans was New Teen Titans with George Perez, Romeo Tangal, and artists like that, Eduardo Barrasso, where they did scenery. Here, scenery is minimal. So for me, that does detract a bit. So artwork, I'd give a 7. But story by Tom Taylor, this is the most fun I've had in a Titans comic since Marv Wolfman. He nails the characters perfectly. I love the subplot with Trigon and his daughter Raven, how she's becoming the linchpin in this current storyline. And I like how they've eased Amanda Waller in without it being Amanda Waller even, without it even being too much. Because I'm not, to be honest, I'm not the biggest fan of what they're doing with Amanda Waller now. I preferred when she was lower scale, when she was just doing Suicide Squad. Um, I don't think she's deserving of a character to be so high ranking as a villain. It just makes no sense to me. Because basically, she has no powers. So how can she manipulate all these superheroes? I mean, even the ones like Batman and Superman who don't kill her or anything like that, there's other superheroes who would take her out without a second thought about it. So that made, for me, that's the fluffy bit that makes no sense to me in the DC universe. But apart from that, gripes aside, I'm enjoying this storyline because I love Trigon. He's one of my favourite villains. And yeah, the artwork's good. Figure work is superb. I just wish they'd concentrate on doing more backgrounds. So if I round it out, I'd give it an 8 out of 10. So yeah, so that's my pull for this week. I might do another video later today. All depends on the old nasal passages because of hay fever. But if I do, it'll be looking at the new releases for July for DC, Marvel, and Image. That's all depends if Image has released theirs yet because they hadn't a few days ago when I checked. Okay, so I hope you've all had a good comic week. If you want to put down what's been your comics of the week in the comments, that'd be great. And I shall speak to you soon. Ooh, messy hair. Bye.